Hey, and welcome to the Full Frontal Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Carpenter. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I'm always so grateful for the listeners who show up week to week. And listen, I know that the past couple of years has been a little bit challenging here for me on the podcast, and I'm just now starting to get into my groove and my rhythm and really getting focused on creating the deep content that I want to be able to bring to you to help you really step into creating that congruent life that you want, meaning that you feel as good on the inside as success looks on the outside. And I know for many high achievers, we're often in the pursuit of more. And for many of you, it's come at a tremendous cost. And you're starting to look at, like, wait a minute, is this all there is? I've done all the things, I've ticked all the boxes, I've done as I was told, so to speak, to create success. But why am I not feeling the way I want to feel? And this is when you get to start to look at your life and go, wow, what if it was never about the external and it has more to do with what's driving me internally and taking a deeper look at that? So today we're going to dive into a topic that I am really, really passionate about. This is something that many high achievers overlook because it's so rewarded. And this is why you might be addicted to achievement and how to allow peace into your life without slowing down. So it doesn't have to be either or. You're never going to catch me just like doing nothing all the time. As much as I've learned to embrace peace and ease in my life, I still have big goals. I still have big ambitions. But the energy driving me is very, very different. So this weekend, I had the pleasure of attending a workshop. I was invited by one of my coaches to attend a workshop hosted by Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love, along with many other books. She's got an amazing book that is going to be coming out about her relationship with her partner who passed away. It's kind of a story of addiction and codependency. And these are a lot of the topics that I speak to. So many of the things that Elizabeth was diving into are things that I work with my clients on, but at a much deeper level. And she said a quote that really like sat me back in my chair because she articulated something in a way that I have never before. And I want to go a little bit deeper with it on this episode. So she said that excitement and depression are two sides of the same coin. Now, I talked a little bit about this in episode 163, where that episode was all about how chaos can feel comfortable and calm can feel weird. And for most of the clients I work with, this is the truth. They are so used to chaos in their life that slowing down doesn't feel good because they've got no they've they haven't they don't have a capacity to hold calm. Most of their lives have been filled with chaos in one way, shape, or form, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. So we can do it if we go on vacation, but many of us even go on vacation and have a hard time just relaxing and doing nothing. We start to judge it and call it like lazy. I'm being lazy. Whereas none of the people that I work with could ever be coined as lazy. It's just not in their DNA. But that fear of being seen as lazy or unproductive is really challenging for them. They don't want to be labeled as that at all. So they don't ever give themselves permission to truly slow down and look at life through a different lens. So, in my own life, I have, for as long as I could remember, I was always chasing achievements. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. However, like I said, the energy that it was coming from was not the healthiest. It really was born out of, I'll show you. So, this belief that I had that I didn't know was there around never feeling good enough and feeling like I had to prove my worth, prove my validity, prove that I was lovable, prove that I was, good enough to everybody and anybody. Because if I had all the certificates, if I created all the success, then I would feel good about myself. And the truth was, it didn't matter how much I accomplished, I never felt good. Because even if I accomplished something, I would then raise the bar and tell myself, well, that wasn't good enough. You still need this. So it didn't matter how many certifications I had. It was like, well, but I still don't have a university degree. So it was this addiction to accomplishment as a way to fill the hole inside of me that was never going to be filled through achievement. And also looking at areas in my life where I created stress and drama, whether it was in relationships or with my money. I never felt confident about handling my money. So there was always space for chaos there around how I viewed that relationship. And then even within relationships, if we go back more than a decade ago, I was so codependent, didn't realize I was codependent, didn't even know what the word codependent meant. But as a very independent and responsible person, I'm like, I can't be codependent because that's the opposite of what I am. Not realizing it was the behaviors, the process addictions that I was getting caught in, that is what made me a codependent, meaning the people pleasing, the wanting to get into control, the seeking approval from everything, the caretaking, the always caring about what everybody else thought of me. All of these things can create this high level of codependency, and even being overly responsible can be part of that because we're not actually responsible for anybody but ourselves. Unless you have minor children, then of course you get to be responsible for them. But ultimately, you get to be responsible for you. You were not put on this earth to save everybody from themselves. So it's this constant like need for more that we get attached to. So let's go deeper with this pattern and what we're actually all getting out of this pattern. So what happens is your nervous system becomes addicted to the dopamine and adrenaline. So the constant to-do list, the pressure, the urgency. You're actually getting a chemical reward. And you're teaching your nervous system that this is normal. I need to work at this level all the time. So that place of just that calm and relaxed state doesn't ever feel normal in your body because you haven't allowed that. And for most of us growing up, we were always in this place of fighting back against. For most of the clients that I work with, they were always kind of in that role of being extra responsible or having to be hyper vigilant for things that were going on in their lives. Many of my clients, if I look at their intake forms, there's a history of addiction in their family, but they've normalized it. So they grew up with high functioning addiction, whether it was alcohol, drugs, you name it. There's usually a thread of that going through my clients. So when we have addiction in any type of household, we're going to have the behaviors to compensate for that addiction. They're protective behaviors so that you can navigate that relationship without, well, what you believe is that you're not losing yourself within the relationship, but the truth is those behaviors come about because you're trying to keep yourself safe. So your nervous system never has this kind of baseline of like, this is calm, this is safe, because we're working with these behaviors that we get into that give us this artificial feeling of safety, but we're not actually safe. Like control doesn't make you safe. There is nothing in this world you can control. You can be responsible for yourself, but you can't actually control anything. But many of my clients get into that control as a way to keep them safe. So we get into this like chasing the next thing because we get addicted to that dopamine and adrenaline. So we start to crave intensity because the stillness, we can't be with the stillness. We don't like that feels very, very unsafe for my clients. Now, they wouldn't name it as being unsafe. Like my clients don't come to me and say, I feel unsafe when I'm relaxing, Lisa. That's not the words that come out of their mouths. But it's that inability to sit still for very long, to be with themselves. Like they're the ones that are like, I love being busy. I always have things to do. And they pride themselves on that. But the truth is, underneath it all, it is an inability to just be, to be in relationship with yourself. And for many of my clients, that's the deep work that we're doing is what does it look like to be in an intimate relationship with yourself where you love and care and accept yourself the same way that you love and care and accept the people that you truly love. Most of my clients are avoiding the relationship they're having with themselves. And then they're wondering why they're not feeling congruent, right? Why the success on the outside isn't matching how they feel on the inside because they haven't actually cultivated a successful relationship with themselves. So that dopamine addiction, that motivation loop is never satisfied. You're always wanting to go after more. The adrenaline puts you in that survival state. So we talk about fight, flight, freeze or fawn. These are nervous system responses. That adrenaline puts you constantly in that survival mode. And we get, like I said, we get attached to that being in survival. And in fact, many of my clients, you might be listening to this and going, yeah, I've got a survivor story. I mean, I know I have a survivor story. I could give you so many stories about how I survived, but you may or may not have heard this from me before. You can't truly thrive in your life if you're attached to being a survivor because you're still in the energy of I'm surviving. I survived. But surviving and thriving are two different energies. And we often need to release that attachment to our identity and step into what does it look like to thrive? And you're going to show up in the world differently with different energy. It does require releasing that dopamine, constantly chasing that excitement. So the other thing is that, that constant craving that we can get into as high achievers. So there's a Buddhist saying that craving is part of suffering. So if you are in this place of always craving, always wanting more, that's actually what creates suffering in your life. So consider that. Think about all the things you want, because when we say we want these things, but they're not here yet, that puts us in this state of craving. And often that's what keeps us miserable. And out of being in a place of gratitude and acceptance for where we are. My clients are afraid that if they accept where they are, they're never going to get to where they want to be. And nothing could be further from the truth. Because by removing the craving, by coming into a place of like, wow, my life is amazing today, that's actually the gateway for bringing in more. But when you're constantly craving, what you're telling the universe is, I still don't have what I want. And you can feel that energy versus being in a place of like, wow, I have more than enough. And yes, please, for more. It's a very different energy. So depression on the other side of the coin, so now we're flipping to the other side of the coin, is this emotional flatness, right? So you're not chasing excitement when you're depressed. So on one side, you're chasing excitement, adrenaline, all the doing, the dopamine. On the other side, you have this emotional flatness, a disconnection from your body, and basically you're in like a functional freeze. So life is just kind of numb. This is where many people end up on medication because they can't, and there's no shade on if you're having to take medication, but understand like depression is not a natural state of being. And for most people, it comes from a very deep disconnect again with ourselves. We haven't been in an intimate relationship with ourselves because there's so many stories and things we've been carrying around. We don't want to go deep into that dark hole and actually do the work to clear the things that are creating pain, because the pain is often what we're avoiding. Okay, so depression, this freeze state, that's the other side of the coin. And listen, like this constant chase for more or this state of depression, these are the things that ultimately lead to addictions, because people are trying to constantly either chase or get away from what they don't want to feel within themselves. So this creates a lot of anxiety, and it's in the in-between of the high stimulation and the low collapse. And it's really a signal, that anxiety, that you're not okay with either. And your body's trying to tell you, it's begging you to pay attention to what's going on inside. So today I wanted to share with you this concept that Elizabeth Gilbert taught that I thought was so fascinating, which is this idea of what does it look like to live an enchanted life. So even that word enchantment, right, brings to, I think about like fairy tales and all things fun and play. It can bring it can bring to you whatever it is you choose. But so enchantment is not the high highs. It's not about excitement, and it's not about this like place of depression where everything's like wah wah. It's this steady place of well-being. And if I look at my body of work, so much of what I am doing with my clients is walking them into this place of what it means to have true well-being or balance in your life. Because again, we're not trying to get you to get rid of all the high highs, and I'm not saying you're never going to feel the low lows, but where can we hold more space for this place of enchantment or well-being, where your life just feels like a warm hug and you have more of those moments? So in this place of well-being or enchantment, this is where your sustainable energy lies. There's no spikes, there's no crash. Things just feel good. And I want you to think about those moments, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them. Your nervous system feels safe. You feel calm. You feel relaxed. Peace and pleasure and comfort and connection live in this place of well being. And you're not getting high off of it. Sorry to say. Like, this place of enchantment is not about getting high, but it's about expanding your capacity to have this life, to feel the way you want to feel, so that you're not constantly trying to escape from yourself. So, these are moments like, for me, when I wake up in the morning and my bed is warm and I love the sheets, how the sheets feel. And I also like one of these enchanted moments for me is getting into a freshly made bed with crisp white sheets or sunrises or sunsets, or, if you've been around for any amount of time, turquoise water and a white sandy beach floating on my back in the ocean is my absolute definition of an enchanted moment on a beach in Tulum. So we all have these moments when my cat curls up with me, when my kids give me big hugs, watching my kids play sports, sitting in my journal. Like, I want you to consider, what are your moments of enchantment? Those moments where you just feel good. Because the thing about these enchanted moments, we love them. But for many of the women and men that I work with, this signals like, oh, but this isn't enough. This isn't enough. I gotta go do more. And then we pull ourselves out of the things that actually make us feel good, and we're back to chasing that dopamine. We're back to being addicted to the chaos and the stress, because that is the factory default setting. Not the factory setting, but the default setting. The factory setting for everybody is well-being. But because of the programming we've stepped into, because of the stories that we've created about ourselves, because of the upbringing that we've had, or the people that have impacted us, we moved away from that. We learned that doing is where we're going to find our fulfillment. And it's actually in creating this life, again, that you don't want to escape from, that you feel like your whole life is a warm hug. When we can create more of those moments, that's what leads to a fulfilling life. But we've got to work through what is creating the addiction to the chaos so that you can start to let it go. And it sounds easy. Sounds easy. Like, who wants to be addicted to chaos? Most of my clients don't even realize that that's what's going on for them. But when they really think about it, they're like, yeah, I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to do less. There's so many demands on my time. And then they justify and rationalize why they need to be going all the time. Because again, that side of the coin gets rewarded by society. We're the doers, we're the achievers, we're the people getting the high fives. Like, look at all the plates you can spin at the same time and look good doing it. We get rewarded for this. Whereas the depressed side, they don't really get rewarded for it. So we look at them and think, well, I don't want to be that. So we go to work harder. We are the people with the quote unquote strong mindsets. But that strong mindset is actually often the thing that is keeping you disconnected from yourself, because now you're just bypassing, again, the things you're really trying to get away from. Because most of you don't realize you're trying to get away from things all the time. But I can tell you that you are, because it comes out in your behavior. And this is why when I talk about the coaching that I do, I don't coach to the problem that you have. You bring me your problem, and I'm going to go under the problem, and I'm going to help you discover the problem you actually have. I coach between your words. I don't coach to the content that you're giving me. I coach to the deeper context. And that's why my coaching is so potent. And that's why my clients get extraordinary results. So this is the work, expanding your capacity to feel safe in the space in between the high, the lows. Some would call it boredom. Even our kids nowadays don't know how to be bored, right? Because we've got cell phones and video games and all these things. And this is doing us dirty. So as adults, boredom is this place of well-being, but it actually isn't boring. It feels really good when you can allow yourself to hold it more, expanding your energy for that. So I've got a few prompts that I would request that you reflect on to kind of ground in this episode, and make sure you go back to listen to episode 163 as well. But where are you chasing intensity under the label of productivity? When was the last time you allowed yourself to really slow down and do less? How often are you burning yourself out? And where does calm maybe feel like you're failing? If you're not doing enough, what are the stories you're telling yourself about yourself? And where have you mistaken peace for boredom? Right? That itch, I got to go do more instead of just allowing yourself to be present. And I get it. I used to be the woman who couldn't sit still for more than 5 minutes. I was like, why would anybody want to meditate? Like, I don't want to meditate because as soon as I got quiet, all I could hear was the loud voices in my head. And those voices, whether you get quiet and hear them or whether you stay in motion, they're talking to you anyways. That dialogue is going on 24/7. But the more you allow yourself to slow down and be with those parts of yourself, hear those voices, you're going to start to be able to release them and let them go and clear them. And you're not here to be a human doing, you're here to be a human being. So what would it feel like if you let yourself live in the I really like this space more and not just the I've achieved this. Because the truth is that the achievement is never really going to get you to the feeling that you want. We've been told that it will, but for most of the people tuning into my podcast, they're realizing, wow, I did the things and I still don't feel the way I want to feel. And it's because they haven't allowed themselves to truly be present or be okay with being in this place of well-being. They don't have access to it yet because they've got no frame for what that even looks like for them. So it's rewiring your brain around chaos and peace and fulfillment. So you can still love your ambition. I still love being ambitious. I still have massive goals. And I also have equal amounts of play and chill time and a lot of open space and a lot of doing nothing, which doing nothing is doing something. Those are when my ideas come in. And the better my well-being is, the better I am as a coach, as a parent, as a partner, all the things because I prioritize my relationship with myself now, and I have been doing that for years. So this is the work. This is the work. It's not about taking away your drive or ambition. It's about getting really clear on what's most important to you and then allowing yourself to have more of what's truly important to you and what feels good. So we've got reclamation. Let's talk about how we can do this work together if you are being called into it. We've got reclamation, which is open for enrollment. I will drop the link down below. There's 2 tiers of support within that group that you can explore. I also have a retreat coming up in February of 2026. This is in Tulum. This is a deep dive. So we will not only be working together one-to-one, but then we will have this extraordinary retreat in the middle. What we have booked out and planned for that is, I mean, it's unbelievable. So I will post what am I going to post below? We'll post a link to an application form if you're interested in coming to Tulum. Maybe by the time this podcast goes live, we'll have the proper sales page up. I'm not really sure. So just bear with me. But if you're interested in Tulum, we'll drop the application and you can apply. And then we also have some individual coaching calls available if you're interested in doing a single session. That's also another way that we could work together. So just to anchor this all in for you, your nervous system isn't looking for more intensity. You've learned how to do that really well. The shift now to create that next level of success you want, which is really about feeling fulfilled and amazing in your life, is to know what it is like to hold peace for extended amounts of time, to really open up into fulfillment, to stop chasing all the doing, and allow yourself to really be present, get to know who you are. This is an invitation to journey into who are you really without all these things that you've celebrated in yourself. And I don't want you to not celebrate them, but I want you to consider that some of the behaviors that got you to where you are, that created that level of success that you have today, are the very things that are blocking you from the next level of success, which is really about enjoying your life, more peace and fulfillment, more ease, You still get to do the cool things, and you feel really good about everything that you are doing. So I would love for you to hop off this podcast and think about your moments of enchantment. Thank you, Elizabeth Gilbert, for that. And where can you make space for a few of those moments today and really be present in this is what it feels like to just be doing the thing, being the person, doing the thing that actually makes me feel the way I want to feel. And really embrace those with as much reverence as you do for your accomplishments and achievements, because that really is what life is about, right? We're here to live our lives fully and to feel good. And when you die, you don't get extra brownie points for how many things you achieved. I want a very rich, soulful life well lived. I want to do all the things, I want to feel all the things, but most importantly, I want to be so present in my life that I don't miss a single enchanted moment. I want to savor those because that is what life is all about. So, let me know what landed from this episode. And if you're craving more of this work, like I said, check out the show notes. We will have all the links about how we can connect and have a conversation about what that could look like for you. I do the work with people that most other coaches do not. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your profession is. I don't care what boardroom table you sit at. I take my people out of their roles and drop them into who they actually are. And I work with some of the most successful and extraordinary people on the planet doing amazing things. And at the end of the day, we're all just human. So it's time to take off the mask. Fulfillment is your birthright, we'll say, but you're not going to get it from ticking more of those boxes. That's work that has to come from within. So until the next episode, take really great care of you. Probably the next couple of episodes will be coming to you from the Camino. I'm about to walk the Camino again and create more enchanted moments in my life with my best friend and just being out in nature. And that in itself is just absolute and utter enchantment. So take good care of you, and I'll catch you on the next episode.